Hello and welcome back to the channel and welcome to a very crummy Christmas. This is day one of the big Christmas countdown, the crummy Christmas countdown. I'm not really decided what I'm going to call it yet. I'm sure I've made a decision by the time I've uploaded this video, but Crummy's Christmas countdown, a crummy advent, I don't know what it's going to be. But anyway, I'm going to do a beer review every day for the duration of the normal advent calendar in some pretty terrible Christmas attire. This is huge. I mean, you can't win. Sometimes supermarket stuff's too small and then I mean, I could, we could get two of me in here. It's massive. But it's Star Wars Christmas, so I'm wearing it anyway. Anyway, let's find out what beer is behind door number one. That's right, we're kicking off in true style with Delirium Christmas. I bought this a while back and I've been eager to get into it. This has got a best before date of 2024. So, I mean, I don't know how they do it, but yeah, that's just incredible. It's from Delirium, which is not actually the brewery name, it's Huger Brewery. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Delirium and Delirium Red, as I tried for the first time on this channel earlier this year. And yeah, this is their Christmas one. I've never had it before. It's got the pink elephant on, he's wearing a Santa hat, there's snow in the background. We're all feeling good. So yeah, it's strong beer. It is a triple fermentation and it's 10%. So we are kicking off Christmas big style. Before we get into it then, here is a quick look at the bottle. The camera keeps wanting to focus on the beer pump for some reason. So here we go. It's in shot now. Delirium Christmas. I mean, look at it. Just look at it. I'm really excited for this, really excited. Right then, let's get it open. Bit of smoke off the bottle. Bit darker than the original. Quite a bit darker, in fact. I'm getting massive aroma just from the bottle, so when I sit here. I mean, that looks fantastic. In the glass then, it's got a touch of red, but it's very brown. It's quite a brown beer, and it's got that off-white head that, I mean, typically, if someone was to serve that up in front of me, I would probably say that was kind of just a British ale, but there's a few giveaways, and one of them is the heaps of carbonation that are running up from the bottom of the glass there. It's got good clarity, but there might be a little... Yeah, there's a touch of murkiness about it, so it's got some depth, I'm sure. It's probably not quite as dark as it's looking on camera. When I hold it up to the light, I don't think it's going to be able to make much difference. But that colour you see at the bottom of the glass right there, probably slightly more representative. But yeah, looking straight into the light, it's more of a deep golden red. Merging into brown territory rather than the deep brown that's necessarily showing up on camera. But yeah, looks good. Right, aroma time. You know what? It smells like a brown beer. That's really, I wasn't expecting that. I'm not getting heaps and heaps of that kind of traditional Belgian flair. Let's move it around a bit, see what we can open up. Oh, there we go. Moving it around a bit and that Belgian yeast has suddenly popped its head up. It's a nice aroma. It's not really punching too strong. You can smell the booze in it as well, have to be said. I'm not getting a huge amount of other stuff. There's a bit of kind of deep toffee and a bit of a fruity note, but it smells like it's going to be a little bit spicy. But really, yeah, not much else. I've got a slightly blocked nose today, so I might be hindering my skills a little bit, but it smells distinctly like a bitter, weirdly. Anyway, let's see how it tastes. Cheers! Merry Christmas! There's no mistake. There's no mistake that that's a Belgian beer. But it has got a weird kind of traditional British feel to it in the flavour profile. It's got that lightly fruity, slightly nutty, bit kind of treacle, all those little notes that you associate with, yeah, just a traditional kind of deep ruby, really. I mean, this doesn't taste like Hobgoblin, don't get me wrong, but it's got It's got something about that flavour profile about it. It also has the Belgian yeast. It is in there. It's nowhere near as prominent as it is in the original beer. And the carbonation is kind of much amped up. The booze is semi-obvious, but it doesn't really burn. So that's 10%. That's outrageous. So I would say, gets you after the swallow. You start to get a bit of a warming in the throat, and that's really where that 10% is showing itself. This is a difficult one to dissect. It's a bit of a muddle. It's enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. This is a great beer, great Christmas beer. To be fair. And given the ABV, I mean, you'd only need to sink one of these after Christmas dinner and you will be asleep. So they give some thought to that, I reckon, perhaps. Okay, top to bottom taste test time. Let's find out if we can pick anything else out. Initially, mid carbonation, slightly bitter on the front of the tongue. Bitterness continues across the middle of the tongue. Wow, that mouthful felt stronger. Yeah, bitterness continues right to the back. No real flavours pop out yet. And then, just before the swallow, you start to get that crash. There's a bit of berry in there. A bit more bitterness. It's quite a bitter beer, this. But it does mellow out also very quickly. And then after the swallow, you get some of that caramel, some of the nice malt bill. A tip of the hat to the Belgian yeast, but it's really not prominent. And the aftertaste is slightly nutty, quite best bitter, red and ruby ale. Like, yeah, it's bizarre, really bizarre, but it's fantastic. I'll be honest. I am genuinely really struggling to pick out absolute individual notes for this. It's such a strange beer. Hopefully, it's going to give us some clues on the back as to how they did this, because it's really quite a feat. So I think there's a bit of sediment in this. So I just poured the end in, and all of a sudden, I'm getting a lot more of that Belgian flair, that slightly kind of, I don't know if people call it banana-y yeast. For me, it's a bit more bubblegummy, but let's see if that's changed the flavour at all. Yeah, it has. It's brought that yeast much back into contention. So clearly a bit of stuff sat around at the bottom of this bottle. Does that change the overall profile of the beer though? It adds in that banana-y, bubblegum, whatever you want to call it, flavour over the majority of the palate now. Much more prominent. And it also adds a sweetness. It's a slightly less bitter now I've emptied the whole thing in than it was initially. So beware if you buy this. You do need to get it all in there really to get the full experience. This is now sits much more as a Belgian beer, which is weird. Apparently, if you've got a well-rested Belgian beer and siphon the top off, you end up with a British ale. Who knew? Right then, you get the idea there. Much of what I've said, it still remains true. It's just got that slightly more intense Belgian flair. Bit more sweetness, bit more caramel, but overall, still very much the same. Right, let's take a look at the bottle. On the front then, Delirium Christmas, Vol, 10% alc. Tell me about that. Great imagery as we've seen already. 330ml bottle, triple fermentation, as we've said, strong beer. You're not wrong there. The brewery is BRL Hughe, Huyghe, which is in Mel, Belgium. Do you give us any actual description? You're going to give us ingredients? Brewed water, barley, malt, hops, yeast. Really? Is that all? Well, they've done something interesting there, for sure. I'm going to see if I can find a description online for this, because I want to know a bit more about what they think it should be. So this is straight from the Delirium website. It says colour and sight, EBC 45, which means a bit brown. Chestnut amber is how they describe it. A fine white, creamy and lacing foam. Certainly is. The foam's very foamy. The scent is a complex entity of caramel malt, fruit, spices and the sweetness of the alcohol. Yeah, I think we covered that. Flavour, IBU 26. Not as high as I thought, but it's nowhere near as bitter now. I've got the whole thing in, so yeah, that's interesting. A strong presence of alcohol, very spicy, slightly bitter. The aftertaste is sweet, spicy and slightly bitter. Yeah, I guess it's falling, for me, it's hard for me to tear it away from that traditional British bitter ruby ale thing, because it matches up so well. It's just like an amped up turbo version of it. But then with that presence of the Belgian yeast, it's a great beer. It's a great beer. I was really excited for this, and the problem about being really excited for a beer is that it then often doesn't live up to expectations. I don't know what I was expecting here, but it wasn't that. But that said, the litmus test is always, would I buy it again? If I saw this in a bar and could have it on tap, I would buy it in a heartbeat. So yeah, absolutely, it passes the test. It might not be quite what I was expecting, but yeah, can't complain. So that is all they say about it, and I think that's all really I've got to say about it. It's been thoroughly enjoyable. Should you buy one as a Christmas treat? I think you probably should, and I think I probably will. So there you have it. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it if you haven't already subscribed, if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you tomorrow for day 2. Cheers.